we're back. Couple different things that I've done now. And I'm leaving this at a wide angle so you can see what I'm talking about. I wanted to pick out these colors for the bird, but I also wanted to get the details on his feathers in and his face and beak. So what I did was I went back in with my tracing paper and my transfer paper, and I just sketched over the face and the petals, and I put them right back in so you can see them. Now, a couple different things I want you to think about with this picture as you look at it. And I recommend, and this is how I really learned color theory a little bit better, is I took my color wheel out and I had 4 or 5 different art books of artists that I really enjoyed, and I went through the pictures in the art books and decided what color scheme they had chosen. And this one, it should be very obvious, but it really isn't, because the background is so gray, but it's also blue. So orange, which is the bird. I know we think of a cardinal as being red, but he's not, he's orange. Orange and blue are complementary colors, just like red and green. So that's our color scheme on this. And what I've done then is I've started a whole new palette, because I wanted to make sure that we got the right, just trying to find a place to put my, there we go, colors for this bird. Now I did put out ultramarine blue because we're going to use that to darken the darks. Anytime you use the opposite of a color, it will darken or gray down your value, and that's what I wanted. For example, in dark shades, like right in here, and of course the feathers. They really have some dark values in there. There's a couple up in here. And we're going to paint the bird in 3 different areas. We're going to do the face last, we're going to do the body first, and then we'll do the petals, or the petals, feathers, tail feathers, second, and then we'll do his face, because I really want his face to pop. So with that transfer that I did on my watercolor paper, I also went back in with masking fluid and masked off his beak, because he did have some colors there, or some white there. So, but let's go over these colors. And I've just thrown these out. I didn't know what colors I was going to use, so I just put out a whole bunch. I've got Indian yellow, which is a very dark orangey yellow. I have Sentinel Yellow Deep, which is a really good color. Nice and heavy bodied, so it's got a lot of value to it. And then I've got red orange. I didn't want to go with straight orange. This is pretty red the way it is, or orangey the way it is, so that was a perfect color. I did pick out gold ochre too, because that can be something we can put in the dark valued areas if we need to. And then this color became very important in the scheme of things. It's permanent alizarin crimson deep, so it's not as red as the alizarin crimson is, being the deep color. And then I put out Quin Red, Rose Madder Lake, Crimson Lake, and then normal alizarin crimson. So those are the colors that I've chosen. I haven't used all of those. Let me tell you the ones that we have used. I used Indian Yellow, Sentinel Yellow Deep, and Red Orange. And then I added in Permanent Alizarin Crimson Deep and Quin Red, which is right next to it. So those are the colors that make up, and I put a star by that color because that's going to be our main value. And then to lighten it, we're going to add more water. And then as we move down the scale in values, the darker colors, it's the same as this medium value, but then we also added permanent alizarin crimson deep more, so it becomes darker. And then the last one, I did add a touch of ultramarine blue, and that darkened it even further for us. So you'll get a copy of this. And I'm going to put him right over here so I can see it. Okay, I'm going to move my palette off camera, because I want you to be able to see the bird. But I'm going to bring it in a little bit because I want you to see me do the center area. There we go. That should be good. And we're going to do it just like we normally do. Water first with the blending and glazing medium. And this line here where his face is going to kind of separate it. And there's a line down here because of the... In fact, I think I'll put a pencil line in there just to remind me. Like that. And that's erasable, so we're good. Okay, let's start with our water. We're going to put our water down. Now, since this is a 7 by 10 sheet, and you don't have to put him on a 7 by 10, you can put him on a 9 by 12, whatever watercolor Arches paper you may have. I just happen to have this new block and wanted to try it and pick out a design to put on it. And we going to put him, once everything's nice and dry, rather than looking for a color to put around him. When I frame him for the mat, I'm going to glue him, probably with Mod Podge is probably my favorite to use, to the board that I choose. I've got a couple picked out, and when he's all done color-wise, we'll take a look at the two and see which ones we like the best. I always wait till the design is done and pick out a couple in advance because I know I want to stay in the blue range, so I have a lighter blue and a navy blue. I was very fortunate years ago when Hobby Lobby was putting together packs of their mat boards that they would cut out like for a big mat, and they'd put them together and they were like $5.99. It was great. I've got tons of them and I'm starting to get to the bottom of them. And the last time I was in at Hobby Lobby, they don't do that anymore, and I was afraid of that because I hadn't seen them in years. But I asked because you never know. Okay, so we got our first layer of water on there. I think I'm right up to the edges. I'm checking the side. I got the masking fluid on the sides of him where I want it. We'll take that all off when everything is done. Got some bubbles on there that I don't want. So I'm drying off my brush, picking those up. Boy, that one is stubborn. There it goes. Okay. So we're going to let that soak in for a moment. And don't forget our mid value is going to be the permanent alizarin crimson deep, Indian yellow, Sandler Yellow Deep, and Quin Red. Those are our colors that we'll be using. I have some mixed here. I'm going to put him, because I've got everything masked out for the highlights, so I'm going to put this all over the entire belly section, if we want to call it that, mid section, so he doesn't get a fat complex. Now I'm putting my second one on. Second layer of water, bringing it up right to the edges. Making sure everything's covered about the same amount of water. Okay, looks good. So I'm going to set that brush down. I'm going to pick up my number 4. Clean it out just to be safe. I do not have a baby diaper on my lap, so I'm going to grab one. There we go. This is a very orange color, but that's what we need. Now this is not our lightest color, this is our mid value. Now the lighter color is going to be what we put on underneath the masking fluid, so when we take that off, that's what's going to go there. Don't want it to be stark white because he's not anywhere except maybe his beak and his eyes, which I did mask that off as well so I wouldn't lose his eyes. Highlight. That water is almost drying that quickly. It's amazing how quickly it dries. I mean, it is hot outside, but I am in a basement, so you wouldn't think it would be that. There, got our first layer on of color, our mid value. And now we want to go in. I'm just going to grab this so we can look at it and decide where we want to go with the darker color. So we do want to have a real dark color over here. And then there's some darker colors in that area. And we're going to go to the next dark. It's not the darkest. Right down here, we want some of this. And again, we're not brushing it on, wanting it to look perfect. This is our first layer. He's got some right through his tummy area. My light's great, but these values are so indistinct, I have to really look at them. These are basically the feathers, the underwash of the feathers that we're getting in here. Now we're going to go with that real dark value. Really just right in here. I think I'm going to add a little bit more of the permanent alizarin crimson, because I really want, there we go, that's better. Really want to show that, make that stand out in that corner. Is there anywhere else I think we could put a little bit right in here? So there's another value in there. Just putting this in different places just so it'll stand out. So we've got 3 color values in there. We've got the darkest, then we've got the medium dark, and then we've got the medium. So we're going to let that dry.